Hello, and thank you for joining me today on the Spiritual Gangster Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Pieraldi. And whether you're walking, driving, folding laundry, sipping your morning coffee, or just hiding from your kids in the bathroom for 5 minutes of peace, welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. Today, we're talking about emotional maturity, but not in a boring textbook, let's all be perfectly regulated humans kind of way. More like real life, messy life, triggered before your coffee life. Emotional maturity is one of those things that sounds very grown up and polished, but in practice, it's gritty, it's uncomfortable, and sometimes it feels like biting your tongue so hard you can taste blood. But it's also incredibly empowering, because emotional maturity isn't about never getting triggered, it's about what you do after the trigger hits. It's the difference between reacting and responding. And if you've ever said something and immediately thought, well, I probably shouldn't have said that, this episode is for you. Let's start here. Most of us were never taught how to process our emotions. We were taught how to suppress them, ignore them, push through them, or explode and then apologize later. Very few of us were taught how to pause. And pausing doesn't come naturally when your nervous system is used to chaos. When you've spent years in survival mode, when reacting felt like protection. So if this feels hard, you're not broken. You're just learning something new. Reacting is automatic. It's fast. It's impulsive. It's driven by old wounds, fear, ego, and the need to defend. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It's slower. It requires awareness. And it asks you to choose who you want to be instead of defaulting to who you were taught to be. That's emotional maturity. And let me be clear, emotional maturity does not mean being passive. It does not mean letting people walk all over you. And it definitely does not mean swallowing your feelings to keep the peace. It means you're no longer controlled by your emotions. You can feel them without becoming them. That's power. One of the biggest myths about emotional maturity is that it looks calm all the time. Like you're just floating through life unbothered, sage burning, never raised a voice. That's not real. Emotionally mature people still feel anger. They still feel disappointment. They still feel hurt. They just don't hand the steering wheel to those emotions. They take a breath. They assess. They respond. And that pause is where the growth lives. Because in that moment, you get to ask yourself, why am I actually upset? What does this trigger remind me of? Is this about now or then? That question alone can change everything. A lot of our reactions aren't about the present moment. They're about old stories, old wounds, old versions of ourselves that learned how to survive by staying loud, guarded, or defensive. So when someone says something that hits a nerve, your body reacts before your mind even catches up. And emotional maturity is learning how to interrupt that pattern. Not perfectly, not every time, but more often than not. Another big part of emotional maturity, accountability. And I know, not the fun kind, but real accountability is powerful. It's being able to say, that didn't come out the way I intended. I was triggered and I reacted. I'm sorry. Without blaming, without justifying, without adding a paragraph explaining why you were right. That is growth. Emotionally immature behavior looks like defensiveness. It looks like blame shifting. It looks like, well, you made me feel this way. Emotionally mature behavior sounds like, I need a moment. I'm feeling activated right now. Let's talk about this when I'm calmer. That's not weakness, that's self-respect. And here's the part people don't love to hear. Sometimes emotional maturity means choosing silence. Not because you don't have something to say, but because you respect yourself enough not to say it from a wounded place. Silence can be a response. Distance can be a boundary. And walking away can be an act of self-trust. You don't owe everyone a reaction. Let's talk about relationships for a minute. Emotional maturity will change your relationships, full stop. Because once you stop reacting, you stop feeding cycles. You stop escalating. You stop participating in emotional ping pong. And not everyone will like that. Some people are used to you reacting. They're comfortable in chaos. They know which buttons to push. So when you pause instead of react, it can feel uncomfortable for them and for you. But discomfort doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It often means you're doing it differently. Emotionally mature people are okay being misunderstood. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't need to win every argument. They care more about peace than proving a point. And that takes confidence. It takes trust. It takes practice. This is also where self-awareness comes in. You cannot respond intentionally if you don't know your triggers, if you don't know your patterns, if you don't know what sends you straight into fight or flight. So part of this work is getting honest with yourself. What triggers you? Feeling dismissed? Feeling criticized? Feeling ignored? Feeling out of control? When you know your triggers, you can meet them with compassion instead of shame. And compassion is what softens reactions. Another truth? Emotional maturity is exhausting at first. Because reacting is easy. It's familiar. Responding requires effort. It asks you to slow down, to feel, to regulate. But over time, it becomes freeing. You stop feeling hijacked by your emotions. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop waking up with regret. And that peace, that's worth the effort. I want to say this clearly. You're allowed to feel everything: anger, sadness, frustration, and grief. Emotional maturity is not emotional suppression. It's emotional responsibility. It's saying my feelings are valid and my behavior is my responsibility. Both can exist at the same time. So the next time you feel yourself getting activated, try this. Pause. Take one breath. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel after this conversation? Let that answer guide your response. And if you mess up, because you will, we all do, repair matters more than perfection. Apologize, reflect, learn. That's emotional maturity too. Growth isn't loud. It's consistent. It's intentional. It's choosing alignment over ego. And every time you respond instead of react, you reinforce the version of yourself you're becoming. That's the work. That's the practice. And that's the spiritual gangster way. Well, everyone, that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it or leave a review. It truly helps the podcast grow. And as always, keep showing up, keep choosing awareness, and keep living like the spiritual gangster you are.